Fane is an agility-based support class hero from the Graveborn faction who specializes in controlling his enemies, and in today's video we're going to take a look at his skills and abilities, his teams and uses, and whether or not it's worth investing in this hero, so let's get into it. His ultimate ability is Malign Judgment. For this one he's going to chain an enemy with the highest attack rating, and for 5 seconds they will be dealt damage every second, along with not being able to move or use any abilities. Now if the ability ends early, they will just be dealt a straight damage based on Fane's attack rating, which will ignore the enemy's defense. On top of that, if the Bone Prison is on the field, it will be extended by 5 seconds. His next ability is Prisoner of Despair. For this one, Fane is going to summon a Bone Prison to the enemy side of the battlefield, which can last for up to 35 seconds and can be extended past this point when he uses his ultimate ability. Now, enemies that leave the Bone Prison will be dealt damage every second, and enemies who remain inside the Bone Prison will have their energy recovery and haste reduced. And then we have Soul Impaler. This ability is going to pull an enemy which is currently outside the Bone Prison back into the Bone Prison, deal them damage based on their maximum health, and prevent them from moving for the following 3 seconds. Next we have Unscrupulous Jailer. For this one, Fane is going to roll gigantic logs across the battlefield, dealing damage to enemies and knocking them backwards. On top of that, based on the damage dealt, Fane and his lowest health ally will be healed by a percentage of the damage dealt by the logs. His signature item skill is Prison Master. For this one, each time an ally enters or leaves the prison, they will gain a shield. However, they can only gain it once every 8 seconds. At level 10, it's going to increase the value of this shield. At level 20, when entering or leaving the Bone Prison, the majority of enemies' buffs will be removed. Then at level 30, for each 8 seconds that an enemy spends inside the Bone Prison, they will gain a stacking debuff which will reduce their crit damage amplification and crit damage resistance, and this can be stacked up to 5 times. His furniture ability is Soul Torture. For this one at level 3, the duration of the Bone Prison is going to be extended by 5 seconds for every enemy that has died within it. And then at level 9, he is going to receive 10% less damage for each enemy within his Bone Prison. And finally, we have his engravings. At level 30, each time you successfully impale an enemy with his Soul Impaler ability, it will reset the cooldown of his Unscrupulous Jailer ability. And then at level 60, enemies that are struck by the logs from his Unscrupulous Jailer ability will be terrified for the following 4 seconds. Fane is a very strong support class hero and can sometimes find use in the front row against enemy teams due to the damage mitigation he receives from his 9 furniture. He can be used in teams with things like Raku or just pure Graveborn control based teams. However, in today's video, we're going to take a look at Fane in a team with Kren to show off their fantastic synergy. So the team we're going to look at is going to include Fane, Zul'Rath, Leica, Kren, and Mortis. Now, Mortis and Zul'Rath are going to be ideal for this team. However, if you don't have them built, you can use substitutes like Brutus, Screg, or even Rowan as replacements to get through the battle. The goal of this team is to CC the enemy team early and then continue it with Kren's ultimate along with the damage that he brings. So Zul'Rath is going to slow the enemy team's entry into the battlefield, allowing us to get our abilities off faster. If Zul'Rath isn't in the team, sometimes Fane may have a harder time in the front row, but with Zul'Rath it allows Fane to get his Bone Prison up very quickly. Leica is in the team for a very similar reason to Zul'Rath in that she improves our haste at the start of battle, but also increases our energy, allowing everything to happen faster. If Leica dies very early on, it doesn't matter, she's just there to get us the boost at the start of battle. Then we have Kren. Kren is the main damage dealer for the team and provides an incredible amount of control. So we really want Kren to ultimate as soon as possible and start juggling those enemies in the air with the stuns. Then we finally have Mortis. Mortis is here to buff the team to allow us to amplify our damage and destroy the enemy team faster. And now we have Fane. So what does Fane bring to this team? The fantastic thing is his synergy with Kren. At the start of battle, Kren is going to place bombs at the back of the enemy side of the battlefield, and when Fane rolls his logs along the battlefield, it's going to knock enemies back into those bombs, stunning them and allowing us to start our CC chain. On top of that, his Bone Prison is going to be fantastic for a few reasons. One, it's going to slow the enemy's energy recovery. So if they do come out of a stun, they're not going to have their energy bars filled up as soon. On top of that, with his stacking debuff from his signature item, he can reduce their crit damage resistance and amplification, meaning that they have less damage potential and also take increased damage. So all things going according to plan, we will enter the battlefield. Kren will place his bombs, Fane will roll his logs and stun the enemies, then Kren will be up to an ultimate and start juggling those enemies. Mortis will start buffing the team, and then we can just continually deal that damage until we wipe out the enemy team. As for artifacts on Fane, the Tidebearer is a great option for some extra survivability. However, Jura's Call is always going to be strong on a support class hero, provided there are no other units in your team that are using it. So with all that out of the way, how far do we want to invest into Fane? His signature item effects are nice, but none of them are really necessary. The one caveat is that he does gain haste from his signature item. So level 5, 15, and 25, he does gain additional haste. For this reason, level 15 is a safe point that is a very cheap investment, but still gets him some beneficial effects. As for his furniture, there are two main options you can look to for the investment. If you don't plan to use Fane too much and just have him as a tech support, then leave him at 0 furniture. However, if you want to go higher investment and start using him in the front row and have him as one of your main support heroes, then level 9 is where you want to take him so that he can gain that juicy damage mitigation. And finally, we have his engravings. And now if you have the resources, taking him to level 60 is going to be very valuable. His level 30 is nice that it allows him to roll his logs along the battlefield more often. And then as a general control character, when you get him to level 60, the fact that his logs are then going to terrify enemies for 4 seconds just brings an added level of control to the team that he is placed in. So that is going to be it for Fane, a support class hero with not much healing, but a great amount of control. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and we'll look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.